Now, many people who are listening to this presentation are likely in their mid to late 50s or early 60s. And this is a time traditionally when people are preparing to retire. According to employment experts, last year the average retirement age for a man was age 63. So if you are in fact in your late 50s or early 60s, why are you interested in talking about work? Well, according to a survey done by MetLife several years ago, of people 55 to 65, 75% of the respondents said that they intended to continue to work well into their 60s. So it's obvious that we older boomers see the traditional sense of retirement in a very different way. We're not anywhere close to ready to hang up our spurs. We want to continue to be in the action, and we want to continue to contribute. But the survey also revealed that we want to work differently than we have in the past. Number one, we want to do work we love every day. We want to cut out the repetitive, rote, boring work and do the stuff that we really enjoy doing and that we know we're good at doing. Second, we want a better balance of work and leisure. And the only way to do that is to control your schedule. We want to help others and give back. This is very important to the older boomers. And in fact, it's very important to me also. And we want to boost our retirement income. Now, more and more of us are coming to the conclusion that in order to combine all of these desired characteristics of work, we may have to create our own sense of work through an entrepreneurial enterprise. And in fact, in the year 2014, according to the Kauffman Foundation, 25% of all new businesses launched in the U.S. were managed by someone over age 55. I call this the boomer business bonanza. Now let's take a look at how being entrepreneurial can provide the kind of work that we want. First of all, when you are doing entrepreneurial work, you are turning work you enjoy into income. This is the essence. You're taking a passion and you're turning it into profit. Number two is age is no barrier when you're running your own business. Your customers only care that you deliver what you promised when you promised it. You have more control over your work schedule when you run your own business. If you need to take a day off or want to take a day off for personal purposes, you can usually make up the time working 1 or 2 evenings and maybe a little bit of time on Saturday. When you work in the corporate world, you work according to their schedule. A very important key here in being entrepreneurial is that your ambition is the only limit to your income. No longer do you have to rely on a boss to assist you in getting a salary increase or a promotion. When you are self-employed, the way you continue to grow your income is to find more customers and keep them happy. You can live and work in your local community. No longer do you have a long commute. I currently work from a home office. My commute is about 21 feet from my bedroom to my office. And lastly, you can keep working for as long as you wish. There's no unexpected pink slips awaiting you. The only way you are without work when you are an entrepreneur is if you mess up all your relationships with your customers at one time. And that's pretty stupid. I want to share with you a quotation that I saw recently in the Wall Street Journal that I thought was really dead on. This was a quotation from a woman named Mary Liz Curtin, who owns a retail store in the Detroit area. She's in her late 50s, and this is her take on being entrepreneurial later in life. Starting a new business later in life is terrific. Older entrepreneurs have more experience, often have better funding, and frequently enjoy a more well-rounded perspective. I couldn't have said it better myself. Now I'd like to share with you the answers to a series of commonly asked questions. And I suspect that one or more of these questions is also in your mind. At the end of our presentation, I will tell you how to contact us if you have a question that I haven't answered. And we'll be very glad to get back to you quickly. The first question that we get quite often is, isn't it expensive to run a business? Well, the truth is that it's never been less expensive to run a business. And let's take a look at a typical monthly expense form for one of our clients. you'll notice that the total comes to less than $1,000 per month, and that includes health insurance premiums. To put this in perspective, if you're selling a craft item at $50 a piece, you only need to sell 20 per month to cover your expenses. Then everything else is profit to you personally. Likewise, if you're selling consulting at $150 per hour, you need to sell 7 hours per month to cover your expenses, business expenses, and the rest of it is profit to you. Next question that we commonly get: do I have to risk my retirement assets to start a business? No, you do not. Many new businesses, and certainly almost all of our startup clients, are starting their companies for an investment well below $10,000. Now, I'm not saying that $10,000 is not a significant amount of money. It certainly is. But this is usually a level of funding that you can take care of personally from savings. Can I work to solve a social problem? We deal with not only for-profit entrepreneurs, but also what I call social entrepreneurs. And the answer to this is absolutely yes. There are two primary ways we see people using entrepreneurial enterprise to solve a social problem. One is to run a nonprofit corporation full-time. This allows you to go for grants and corporate funding. The second way to do it is the way I do it, and that is to run a for-profit company and give back your time to a cause. I have 2 or 3 causes that I'm very devoted to, and I probably give 5 to 10 hours a week, plus a certain amount of money every year to these causes. I don't really want to run a nonprofit full-time. There's some limitations on how you can grow a business when you run a nonprofit, but I have a very keen sense of social need. Do I have to figure out all the business startup steps all by myself? No, you do not. There are 3 important sources of help today. The first are online information sites. For example, one of my favorites is StartupNation.com, which has thousands of articles, blog posts, worksheets. It's just a great place to get some quick information on any particular aspect of a business. The second, of course, is the U.S. Small Business Administration. They fund what are called small business development centers. In my home city of Chicago, there's about 20 of them in the city and the suburbs. And then the third way you can get really directed help is through business coaches. And I'm proud to say that Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine selected my company, Bizstarters.com, as the best entrepreneurial guide for people over 50. How do I find a good business idea? Well, there are 5 steps that I have found will help you to really take your skills and experience and interest and focus them. And you can do this on one side of a piece of paper. So you want to write these questions down on a piece of paper and leave some space under each of them, and over the next couple of weeks try to write an answer. The first is based on what you really love to do. We're starting with something you really love to do. That's the key ingredient, is the passion has to be there. But once you have that, the next thing to do is to find a problem you can solve with your knowledge and your experience and your interest. Write one little paragraph as to what the problem is you can solve. Number 2, then you describe your solution. And you want to do this in such a way that you highlight your competency and experience, because you need to be able to show how you're superior to somebody else who's already trying to solve that problem. The next is to figure out how much money you can make when you sell a typical sale in the kind of business you want to go into. For example, if it's a craft item, you may be selling for $50 a unit. Whereas if you're selling consulting, you may have a goal of selling $5,000 at a time. Number 4 is to calculate your desired personal income during your first year in business. Let's say it's $50,000. And you are going to sell consulting for $150 an hour. Well, you can start by taking the 50,000 divided by 150, and you're going to end up with 333, which is the number of hours of consulting you have to sell during your first year. Now, understandably, you are probably saying, boy, there's no way you could do that. Not just one person. Well, the reality is much more attractive, and that is that you almost never sell 1 hour only of consulting. Typically, you're selling a project. And projects require 10, 20, 30, 40, or even 100 hours of your time. So let's say it's $5,000. Now divide 5,000 into 50. You only need 10 consulting jobs in a year to make your desired personal income. So step number 5 is to do a little reality check and say, okay, based on what I know and what I can do, could I sell 5 consulting jobs in 12 months? I think you probably could. How do I run a business all by myself? The vast majority of our startup clients are what are known as solopreneurs. They really want to run the company by themselves, possibly with some help from family. Many of them had experience in the corporate world in managing employees, and they're kind of burnt out on that. You know, it's a situation of been there, done that, don't want to do it again. Well, fortunately, there are 3 really powerful tools you can combine to kind of replace an employee. First is business technology, such as the web, such as accounting programs like QuickBooks. You can then add on top of that online services. For example, Constant Contact gives you email marketing. And then when you do need live help, you can always find contractors. There's dozens of websites, or you can put an ad on Craigslist and find somebody to do work for you. I do this probably a dozen times a year. I need something specific done. I don't either know how to do it or don't want to take the time to learn how to do it. And I either go online to a site like guru.com or I go to Craigslist and say, here's what I want. And I always get 10, 15, 20 responses. Okay, here's some examples of technology that's commonly used in business today, and it's very affordable. We use WordPress software to design all of our clients' websites. And using this tool and some expert help like we provide, we can do a website for well under $700 a piece. This is the same exact software that Fortune 500 corporations use. And then, of course, next is Skype, which some of you may know is the international phone calling process. They have their entry-level plan costs little or nothing to use. There's Constant Contact, which is the largest email marketing service. This starts at $17 per month. And then lastly, I mentioned guru.com. This is a entry point to tapping thousands of freelance workers around the world, some of whom will work for as little as $10 an hour. Next question, isn't there more security in a job? Well, this is really a comparative process to come up with an answer, but let me tell you what the experts tell us. According to job experts, a typical new job today only lasts 18 months before you are on to something else, sometimes having to leave the company. But according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, 60% of new businesses last at least 2 years, and many 5 years or more. So you got to ask yourself, where's the greater security? Now this is a very common question and very understandable too. And that is, how do I find customers? Well, fortunately, when you're over 50, you already have a lot of people you can sell to. First of all, you have 75 million fellow boomers. And they are very likely to see you as a sister or brother when you approach them with your selling message. You also have 43 million Americans over age 70. And they may see you as a niece or nephew and be very inclined to listen to your message. So this is almost 120 million potential customers you can sell to. I think there's a lot of businesses to be started with 120 million customers. Jobs come with benefits. Self-employment doesn't. Well, once again, let me explain the reality of the current job market in the United States. Over the last 5 years, according to the U.S. Department of Labor statistics, more than 35% of all new jobs in the United States have been for temps and freelancers. And typically, this is characterized by lower wages, quite often under $15 an hour, and no benefits. So there aren't benefits for a lot of these new jobs. Now, this is a very critical question, particularly if you're in your late 50s or early 60s. You not only don't want to risk your retirement funding in starting a business, but you also would like to know, how am I actually going to add to that pot of assets I have? Well, it turns out that the IRS really likes small business owners and self-employed people. And as a result, the tax code permits you to use a number of different vehicles, including the SEP IRA, a simple profit sharing accounts, and you can even have a 401k in a single person business. These vehicles allow you to put $40,000 or more of your income away that you earn from your company. So yes, if you've left the corporate world, you're no longer allowed to contribute to your deferred compensation plan in your corporation. But that doesn't matter, because now you can do it in your own company. And you can do this for as long as you want in the future. You can do this till you're age 80 if you want to continue to do it. Now let me explain this wonderful new phenomenon in America. And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing so many boomers jump into self-employment. This is a profile, a small business that you might not be familiar with, because this wasn't true even 15 years ago. Let me show you the characteristics of this new generation. Number one, we work from home, most of us. There's no rent, which greatly lowers our expenses and our risk. I would say 95% of our startup clients at least run their companies from home. Now, some of them have service trucks, or they go out and deliver, but they keep their accounting, their computer, they do their marketing work all from a home office, which costs them nothing. We work without employees. As I mentioned, a lot of our clients are burnt out from being around employees in the corporate world. They want to do their own thing. But when we need help, you can use online services and contractors. We sell globally. Thanks to the web, email, and Skype, you can connect around the world. For example, 3 years ago, I successfully set up a partnership with a group of individuals in the UK, and we did this all by email and Skype. I never traveled there. They never traveled here. Our accountants and lawyers got involved by email, and we set up the deal at a distance. We promote inexpensively. One of the big drawbacks to the old type of small business was that you had to use newspaper and magazine ads, and you had to use direct mail, both of which were extremely expensive. Today, you can use low-cost email marketing, which costs a fraction of a cent each to send out. You can use web-based publicity. For example, using a site that I use called PR Web, you can send a press story to 6,000 recipients for $159. And you can also use social media. As you probably know, basic accounts at Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn are free. And lastly, you can make a lot of money selling information. I know this because this is how I built my company, Bizstarters.com. Now, using this platform of what I call low cost, high profit, let's look at 6 very common ways to start and run a business today. The first is to sell a consumer service online or offline. And our client Jacob is a perfect example. Jacob lives in Oregon. They're very environmentally oriented there, and he wanted to create a website that showed all of the green or environmentally friendly resources in the state of Oregon. He did this, and that led to selling ads on the website, and it also led to very lucrative consulting work with environmentally oriented companies. The second is to offer consulting services. And this is particularly successful when you have very strong knowledge in a very specific sector and you have connections. Our client Ken was an award-winning health and safety director when he was laid off 8 years ago. The whole department was laid off. He knew that eventually his employer would have to come back to him because health and safety is federally mandated. You must abide by certain laws. And today, Ken is making more than $200,000 a year running his health and safety consulting business out of the den of his house in suburban Chicago. Next is to offer a local business service. Our client Ann is a perfect example of this. Ann spent quite a few years in the Silicon Valley area of California, where she learned some pretty sophisticated techniques for managing commercial real estate. She decided to relocate to the far southern tip of Texas to be near her mother, who was ailing. And when she got down there, she realized very quickly that a very large percentage of the real estate in this town was owned by out-of-town absentee owners who needed help. She was able to bring a more sophisticated, more professional type of commercial and investment property service to her local area. You can turn a hobby to a web store. This happens to be something that I really enjoy helping people do. Our client Jim is a perfect example. Since Jim was 16 years old, he's played drums in both rock groups and jazz combos. And during his 25-year career as a sales manager in the corporate world, he used some of that money to buy what is now considered one of the most extensive collections of 1960 drum sets in the United States. Well, unfortunately, at age 59, he got a pink slip very unexpectedly, and suddenly was thrown back into the job market. And after a year of unsuccessful job search, I met him at a job search club. And he said, you know, I have this hobby. Do you think I could turn it into a money maker? And I said, sure can. Well, 5 years later, Jim is making a good living with his company called Crash Boom Bam. The next category of low-cost, high-profit business today is the business I'm in, which is where you sell knowledge and information. The two primary ways I make money is to sell training courses and to sell coaching, both of which are very, very lucrative. People pay for advice, people pay for how-tos, people pay for step-by-steps. And the last group is to present teaching and training. My good friend Melissa, who I've known for more than 25 years, has written 11 books, several of which have been published by major publishers. And in the process of doing this, she learned everything you need to know about how to write it, how to set up the manuscript, how to edit it, how to get the cover designed, how to get the books produced, and how to market them. And starting about 3 or 4 years ago, she started to offer a 2-day live workshop here in suburban Chicago, taking you through every step, from your idea, the title, the table of contents, all the way to getting the book published. And if you want, you can buy extra service from her, and she will help you to publish it through a service that Amazon offered, where you can print books as you need them. Now, I'm hoping that you share my sense of excitement and what the possibilities are entrepreneurially. As I've mentioned before, it's a low-risk, high-profit potential today. You can run a lot of businesses for less than $300 a month and have the ability to grow a $200,000, $300,000 business from home. Now, it's going to take you some time to do that. I'm not going to pretend it's going to happen in the first year. But the point is, people don't care that you work from home anymore. They just want your help, or they want specific knowledge from you. Now, I know that you probably still have some questions that I haven't answered, or maybe you just like to have some time to talk. I'd love to do that. So let me tell you what you can do as your next step here. Go to Bizstarters.com and scroll down to the bottom of the home page, and you'll see an area that says Hire Your Own Business Coach. And right below the text with a little picture, you'll see click here to schedule your coaching appointment. I am very pleased to offer free 30-minute coaching appointments. These are no cost, no obligation, to anyone who's seen this presentation and would like to talk about next steps. So I really have enjoyed sharing this information with you today. I hope you have found it thought-provoking. I hope that it has helped you move further down the path to deciding, yes, I want to do entrepreneurial work, or no, it's not right for me. I look forward to having you reserve a call with me, and I look forward to talking to you soon.